Michael Jordan would call me. His wife told me, "You are Michael Jordan's favorite person. Scott, when are you coming to bring him his cigars?" And he would ask for specific boxes, and I would get them.
So
I'm
sure
not smoking.
The people that are watching, he's not smoking a cigar because the last time he smoked a cigar was 25 years ago?
It was 25 years ago, and I'm scared. By the time I was 14, I was the leader of a Chicago street gang. The Simon City Royals, well known, still out there, still big. I still associate with some of them.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Burn Down Podcast. I am Eric. This is Justin. Today we have a special guest in the studio. This man is a street guy in remission, a Cuban cigar smuggler back in the 90s. He is a boxing insider and now soon to be an author of his book, Smoke, no other than Scott Anthony. What's up, brother?
Hey, how are you?
Good to hear from you. Long travels to the podcast.
You talked about the book.
Come on.
I'm so proud. I carry it everywhere I go.
You should.
You know, you guys couldn't imagine how many people out there say, I'm going to write a book or I should write a book. I was told this since I was young. But where do you start?
Yeah.
See, this is
hard.
So this book, this is so new. This is so that it's so
like a draft. It's
like
a draft.
Pre-released.
Yes. Yeah,
it does. It has a spot on the back that says
the barcode.
That has a white box that literally says barcode on it.
Yeah.
Where the barcode
that is the mock-up of the book. The book's going to be out in January. And I'm really excited. I got 3 more books coming out after that, and
I want a signed copy of it.
Yeah, you're gonna get it.
One.
I want to come back on when the book is out.
Yes.
Then I want to come back on and light up a cigar out of celebration.
That's what I'm talking about. And let's not skip that you flew all the way from Mexico
Yes, that's right.
to be on the podcast with the boys here. So
when he told me that, he's like, he's coming from. I'm like, where's he coming in from? He's like, Mexico. I'm like, Mexico.
Yeah.
He's like, is this guy legit? I was like, no, this guy's legit.
Flying in from Mexico? Jeez.
Yeah, you guys probably have a hard time with all the people that want to be on, and you have to go through that list very carefully.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
Well, have you started your podcast yet?
I did. This is what happened. I don't know if you guys are familiar with WWE wrestling.
Of course.
My good friend.
I'm familiar with when it used to be WWF.
Yeah. Do you remember El Vampiro?
Yes.
He used to wrestle all the time
vampire.
against Sting. Yeah.
Wait, really?
El Vampiro.
He wore the white shirt and he had the fangs and whatnot?
He used to wrestle against Sting.
No, he would just paint his face.
Yeah.
And he had dreadlocks.
But Sting
No,
used to
I'm
do
thinking of
something.
a different
Sting used to do the same type of face stuff. So
and
it was like,
him and Sting were rivals. They had this rivalry going. But Vampiro has the credit of the first person to ever pin Hulk Hogan.
Oh, wow.
So he pinned Hulk Hogan. Then he broke his neck. And just like a racehorse, they shot him, and that's it. We're done. Go back to where you came from.
It's crazy. Yeah, I remember WWF with
World Wrestling Federation.
Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite?
Bro, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Not even a question.
I was a fan of Triple H though too, man. Triple H was
the Triple H.
Stone Cold is the best.
Stone Cold and The Rock. Yeah,
I think Stone Cold's the best. You know why Stone Cold's the best? Because he literally just he was just an all American, just
badass,
like badass country boy. Came out just.
And he had the best entrance.
It was great.
He had the best entrance.
Yeah,
but they take a beating, these guys.
Oh
yeah.
Now listen, that's a good point because I know this is we started with the let's start with this. We're already off topic, but yes, wrestling is fake. Okay, like that's not real. Fighting and wrestling. Yes, there's a script and somebody's supposed to win, and they kind of help you. Hey, I'm going to throw you over.
But their bodies go through.
But they get beat up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if you look at the Hell in a Cage between Mick Foley, Mankind, and The Undertaker,
jumping off the top of the cage onto the table,
dude, that they get beat up. Like that's real. Like when he's landing on tacks and he's picking tacks out of his back.
I've been there.
That's real.
El Vampiro.
They don't. Maybe it's not a real punch.
Oh,
but that's a real.
I was there for the filming. They were doing that cage stuff on the ladder, and Vampiro, he came off of the ladder, and he fell on all the tacks. They didn't take him off until after the match. He just left him there. These guys are raw and tough.
Yeah.
Have you seen what John Cena's like lately?
Yeah.
He's walking.
Yeah, he looks way different.
Yeah, they're getting beat up.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, if you look at look at like Hulk Hogan, he was on Joe Rogan a while back, and he's like, "Dude, I'm beat, man." Yeah. And Mick and Mankind, they
all look like that.
Mankind, him and Undertaker did like the 25th anniversary of Hell in a Cell, and they did like a interview about it, watching the match, and they were talking about, oh yeah, I remember I told you, I whispered in your ear I was going to do this, blah, blah, blah. Mankind is beat. Dude, he's got like no teeth. He takes his teeth out. He's got like half a knee. Like he's
and some
beat up.
behind the scenes stuff that most people don't understand. Unless you are a marquee, unless you are the top of the top, you're traveling on a bus with all these other guys from city to city, and that's how they build a name and their brand.
And they all started like that.
And they all started like that.
They all started
it's
on that
bus. It's a rough
bus.
life. So they're not eating well.
Not getting
they're
paid.
Not training well.
Barely getting paid.
Barely getting paid. It's almost for free. And a lot of guys do it for free in the beginning. Did you see Bigger, Stronger, Faster? Mm-hmm. That the story about Chris Bell.
And some guys don't even, like, they'll do it for free.
Yeah.
And unless sometimes you need to have an in, or if you don't look like the part that the organization wants you to, you may be doing it for free forever, and then you get kicked out, and nothing happens.
They shoot you like a racehorse.
Unless you got the look and you fit what they want to.
So let's talk about Scott Anthony. That's what I'm interested in. Right?
You'll know we go off the rails real quick.
Yeah. We all do.
I got my imaginary fishing pole, and Justin is the fish.
Hey, he brought up WWE. Okay.
Well, the point was
because
bring it up. Vampiro invited me on his podcast a couple weeks ago to show my book. He said, "Let's talk about your book, Scott. Let's talk about you." And after that, he called me a couple days later, and he goes, you know, we were roommates, and we go back many years, and he knows a lot about my life. And he said, "Scott, you and I got to do our own podcast. We got to do one." So we're actually building a studio right now.
Nice.
We're gonna do our own podcast.
So that's why we came up, because you were talking about how you have to vet a lot of people. You have a lot of people that request.
That's right.
And so when you start doing that, you'll see how everybody wants to be on the show.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a story to tell, and it's like.
And I'm particularly interested in your story, because
my story's pretty exciting.
From what I understand,
I'll say.
From being in Chicago in the '80s, life of crime and stuff that you did on the run, smuggling Cuban cigars. I'm sure you got 1,000,001 stories. So I would love to see how you started. Where it all started and where it all began.
So I'll break it up into pieces. And most of the people are going to want to hear about the cigar smuggling, because it is.
I mean, it's a cigar show.
It's exciting. That's right.
So
I grew up in the streets of Chicago. My father, he left when I was 4, kind of messed his life up. And my mother had to go out and make $2.30 an hour. I think that's what minimum wage was back then. And so I hit the streets running, and it was gangs. And I by the time I was 14, I was the leader of a Chicago street gang. The Simon City Royals, well known, still out there, still big. I still associate with some of them, and there was a big party this weekend, and I sent a shout out to them. I couldn't make it there, but I wanted to. And that is the beginning of the street life, the mob life, the street guy life. You're a street gang. John Gotti was in a street gang. And then you kind of make the graduation to other levels of street life. So that's where it started. And by 1987, I was wanted by the ATF, the DEA, the FBI, the Marshals, the Secret Service. Wow. I had a lot of credits, and they wanted to charge me for them.
And what was all this that they were after you for?
Well, I was a bad guy, and it was so amazing. The most amazing period of life you can possibly imagine. And the most fun I had was robbing drug dealers. Okay. That's so we would
I feel like that's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
You're doing you're robbing bad people.
That's why I didn't feel bad about it. That's why there was
you're doing a
no
bad
guilt.
thing, but you're doing it to bad people.
No guilt. I used to say, because I was raised well. My poor Italian mother, she did a good job of making sure my soul was intact, and I just couldn't go out there and rob purses and hit people over the head and take their week's earning. And so I looked at drug dealers, and I said, they're making a lot of money. They're making it relatively easy, so I'll just take theirs. And then that led to selling drugs. And then I was running back and forth from Mexico, Chicago, Miami. Miami was the it place then, way before the new modern culture set in. South Beach, I remember I would drive down the street in South Beach and think to myself, I had to buy a property here. I bet this place is going to be nice one day. It was all Art Deco. and it was all original. The storefronts were boarded up, and it was just a dump.
I wonder if he knows about the hotel from a previous guest. We have a previous guest on.
Yeah,
what was his name? Nick. Nick.
Nick. Where's my phone?
And he has a cigar company. And there's a famous hotel in Miami, very Art Deco, with the light blues and the light pinks and like the, and it's a very famous. And we actually have the box. Do we? No, we don't. Hold on. Anyway, he
Is it the Fountain Blue?
No, it's not the Fountain Blue,
Okay.
which is a great place, by the way.
Yeah.
But he has a on his cigar label. He's got, so his grandparents had owned the hotel, and then his grandparents had passed away, but he put them on the label, and it was a very famous boutique hotel, small hotel, not big like the Fountain Blue,
Right.
a small one. And I was trying to see if we had the box here somewhere, and there's a sticker on the board over there. But I was going to see if you knew the hotel, since you were
That's a funny story because
in Miami for a while.
when I was at my peak. A lot of things happen in gyms, and I've been a gym guy since I was about 15 years old.
Since you're old enough to pick up a weight.
That's right. You go to the gym, you work out. Just like cigars, there's bonding, and there's a lot.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of different characters.
What is it?
St. James Hotel.
I don't know. It rings a bell because of St. James, but I don't know if it registers together with a hotel.
You know what's funny is you're talking about the about being in the gyms and like there's a bond. And I was gonna say, you know how it starts? It starts with, "Hey man, can you give me a spot real quick?" And then that's it. And then that guy is now your spot man.
Yeah.
And now next time you're in the gym, you're like, "Oh, hey, Scott, you want to give me a spot real quick?" And next thing you know, what are you doing on Saturday? You doing arms? You know what? I'll do arms with you on Saturday.
That's
and
kind
now,
of how it happens.
and now you got a buddy, and now you have a gym buddy. It takes like 3 times.
And it's street guys, and then you all know the owner, and
That's what that hotel looks like.
oh, okay, looks
Yeah.
nice.
You said Art Deco. I don't know if I'm not art guy.
Yeah.
I think that's Art Deco. I don't know.
It probably is. I'm not an architect myself, but anyway, I went to Miami on one of the trips with a guy from Chicago. He opened a gym in one of those old hotels along the beach, and
He opened a gym in a hotel?
Yeah. In they
What do you do
often
with all the
have
rooms?
Space. No. He opened it in some of the common areas like first level or basement.
Yeah, but so what did he do with the rest of the rooms? Did he like...
I don't know if he had anything to do with the hotel.
So they kept it as a hotel?
Yeah, it was a hotel, and he put a gym down there, and I remember I said, I want one of these. I want my own gym. And I always wanted my own gym. There used to be this ad in the bodybuilding magazines in the back. Used to be an ad, own your own gym, and it was like $10,000. I remember I was saving my money.
When was
saving
this?
my money. We're talking 1970s, like mid to late 70s.
That's equivalent to, 300, 400K now.
Yeah, and the next
Imagine
time,
having an ad in the paper, own your own gym for $500,000.
oh, money was way different back then. I kind of feel a little embarrassed sometimes when I talk about the numbers back then because you guys are much younger. You can't really relate it. $5,000 was a lot of money, a real lot of money. And now $5,000 doesn't mean very much.
Spend $5,000 at a weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Depends where you go.
So were you traveling between Chicago and Miami? Because that was like a drug connection.
That was the drug tunnel. Yeah, that was the run, and that's finally where
I'm assuming it was
caught.
cocaine. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah. It was cocaine a lot, some weed too, but Miami.
Can we say that on our show?
Yeah, why? It's your past.
Fuck it.
Oh yeah. I paid
Paid his
my
dues.
dues. I did everything. I haven't. Just to be clear, I haven't broken a law in probably 24 hours. No, in many years. It's
No, but
been,
it's good because
been many years.
listen, it was a time in your life, okay, that happened, and you paid your dues. Now you had gone out. And you're like, listen, now it's time. I want to change.
Well, it's dynamic.
I want to switch to change my life around.
So in the early 90s, I was on the run, and I was hiding out in Mexico, and a group of friends, they were going to Cuba. This was probably 1991-ish that I wanted to go so bad. Just the mystique. Cuba, I want to go there, prohibited. And I had several different aliases, so I was going to go for my passport. And then I sat down and I started thinking, I said, what an idiot I would be sitting in a cell handcuffed and they're like, what happened to you? Fuck, I tried to get a fake passport so I could go on vacation to Cuba. So I decided,
of all the ways to get pinched.
right? Exactly. That's it. So I decided not to do it, but I still had that desire. I wanted to go to Cuba, and they came back and they were talking about the girls and the cigars and the beaches and how amazing Cuba was. So I got pinched a little couple months later, probably after that, and I ended
up.
Yeah. They came down, they got me. They landed a helicopter on the street where I was, and there were agents all around, and I was actually with the governor's son because I was giving kickboxing classes. So everybody knew me because I trained people in martial arts.
Were you always, like throughout your entire life, involved in martial arts and boxing? And
Yes.
And then, so you were kind of like training at the time.
I was actually, when I got pulled over in Georgia, I had a fight like 2 weeks. I was supposed to fight in 2 weeks.
So you were a fighter as well?
Yeah, I was a fighter as well.
Only boxing or?
Kickboxing. I did boxing as a young kid, amateur, and then once I saw kickboxing, I said, wow, that is me, because it's much more dynamic than boxing.
It's a totally different ballgame
Yeah.
once those feet come into play.
I wrestled. I competed in wrestling. I actually had an offer for a scholarship to Northwestern University for wrestling, but I knew there was no way I could have made the grades at Northwestern.
Do you still spar now?
I still do. I'm thinking, I was talking the other day to the ex-WBC world champion Jorge Baca, and he's like, we got to do an exhibition. So I'm thinking about training. When my shoulder gets better, do a boxing exhibition with him, and I do jiu-jitsu. I do jiu-jitsu almost every day.
How does jiu-jitsu, how do you find that with your shoulder?
That's probably why my shoulder's messed up. I just had a full rebuild. I went to France.
They catch you in one, you're like,
it's consistently. Jiu-jitsu is consistent, but if you're smart, I do old man jiu-jitsu, so I know how to tire the young guys out a little bit before they start getting really wild.
Yeah, you got it.
And then I'm careful.
Yeah, it's old. You got to play the old man game.
Yeah, you got to play the old man game. You guys will learn that in about 10 more years.
So
I used to do the same thing in basketball. You play the old man game, right?
Yeah.
Because I played basketball when I was younger.
I do it with my son.
And then, and you get a little bit older, and you're like in your 30s, whatever, and now you're playing in some of these leagues, and it's like, all right, in your 30s, you're still, young. You're not old man.
Right.
But you got to play the old man game.
That's right.
And they go like, what do you mean? I said, okay, it's boring,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
listen, get me in a ball in the post, right? And just sit there, a couple like this, and then a pump fake, and then I'm on the free throw line. Two shots.
Everybody learns.
And everybody's like, dude, you took 27 free throws this game? What? Yeah. Old man game. You don't want to keep your feet on the floor, but you just want to keep jumping. I'm going to keep taking free throws.
Keep going.
Anyway.
So how I'm picking up so far. So Chicago to Mexico. Now, how long were you? It sounds like you must have.
I was a fugitive for 5 years.
5 years.
So
okay.
I needed to be a fugitive for 5 years, and
you needed to be. What does that mean?
Because that made my case so much better. Because when they pulled our car over, loaded up, I got away. But my associate who was in the car with me, he got arrested, and they finally let him go. And when I spoke to his lawyer about, 6 months, a year after we were pulled over, I spoke to his lawyer and I said, let's pretend you were talking to Scott. What advice would you give Scott? He said, well, hypothetically, if I was speaking to Scott, I would tell Scott he needs to not get caught for 5 years. The case will basically die at 5 years because they need to charge both of you together, because otherwise you can point fingers at each other and say, he did it, and it's up in the air. So this is ironic, and I'll show you the newspaper article just to verify it. I was pulled over on January 18th, 1987. And by the way, there were new laws, so I hadn't entered the new sentencing guidelines, which also saved me. But I was pulled over on January 18th, 1987, and I was caught 1992, January 19th. So
almost
I beat it literally by 1 day. And then I had this amazing attorney. I've written about him in all my books. He was like an angel sent to me from the heavens. And he did some magic and got me the least that I could get.
So why did you go from robbing drug dealers to being a drug dealer?
Because it's the natural flow. Because so I robbed my first drug dealer when I was 17 years old. and it was a great score. I went from I was a stock boy at Dominic's grocery store, and all of a sudden I've just got cash falling out of my pockets. It just felt so amazing. That's what happens. Young people, you get money and you just blow it. You just throw it away, but it feels amazing because just have money that you didn't have before. The cars, the girls, the dinners, all that stuff. But I was still young, and I knew I had some mob contacts, but because I had been working for some people renting apartments where they would run their gambling operations, and they would have the girls in there with flash paper. And so I knew to either get, if I was going to get caught, if I was too loud, and even the other guys would take it away from you if you're too loud. So I slowed down.
Yeah, what's that?
Exactly.
From Goodfellas, the famous scene when he comes in, he's like, "See that? I love that car. I love that car." He's like, "I told you, don't buy anything.
Yeah.
I told you, don't buy. I don't care where you get it out of here. Take it back. I don't care where you get it from. Take it back. Just get it out of here."
And that is the truth. And so then, by the time I sold all of that stuff out, I was a legitimate player. I need more. So I need more. But because I was from this, if you guys know street guys just have a different way of looking at shit. You see somebody that you don't know. If I don't know him and he's not my friend, if he's not connected with somebody that can back him up, he's getting his shit taken.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just a slap or sometimes it's a gun. Depends on, there's some tough guys out there in the world.
Sure.
There are guys that'll go to war. We've all known them. We all grew up with a kid that you would call him if there was trouble. Go get Bobby.
Oh, yeah.
He'll fight anybody. He'll do anything. So there's some tough men out there in the world. So went into that. When I got out of all of the trouble, you have a lot of time to think when you're locked up. When you're incarcerated, you got nothing to do. I mean, it depends how stupid you are. You
I'm assuming they flew you back to the U.S., right?
Yeah, they took me back to the U.S. and they brought me to Fort Valley, Georgia.
Wow.
And I was scared.
And how long were you there for?
I was there for about a year and a half. And then the feds came to pick me up and they took me back to Chicago to the federal MCC building. But it was the Grand Fed Tour. And anybody out there who's done Fed time, you know about the tour. And back then it was old school planes, trains, and automobiles. And they transferred me everywhere. I did a little bit in Atlanta Federal Prison where they had all the Cuban immigrants. And then I went to El Reno, Oklahoma, and then Chicago's MCC building, which was, it's still there and it's still the same thing. The New York one, they're all very similar. And finally, when I got out, I was on 8 years of federal papers. So you can't spit without getting in trouble. So it means you served for 8 years? Is that what that means? Yeah, it means if you get caught doing something, you got to pay 8 years to the government.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to stay out of trouble. But
is that anything as so much as a speeding ticket?
No, it's first of all, you're not allowed to do any kind of drugs. So anybody who, if I would have, I didn't do drugs, but even if you smoked weed and you dropped dirty, boom, violation.
So you got to be clean. You got to be.
You got to be clean, and I was ready to be clean. I wanted my life better. I knew there was a better life out there. At
what point, or was there a point where it just something clicked and you're like, "This, I got to do something. I got to change this."
Well, the truth, and honestly, when I was in Mexico and I was just socializing with another quality of people, and I looked around and said, this is what I want. These people, they have a life. Where I came from, everybody was a criminal. We were all doing the same thing, selling drugs. And when you're in a network of people that are involved in crime, everything is at your disposition. You just know each other, and you kind of look across the room and go, oh, that guy's into something. And then people tell, and you carry yourself. You walk a certain way, you dress a certain way. Money's falling out of your pockets because you are a player and you're in the game. And so you're set up with other people. And we all, the street people, knew each other from somebody else. So the guy's not a snitch because 5 other people know him. You're not just going to start talking to some guy that you don't know. Who knows him? And then you start making phone calls. Hey, do you know Johnny? Yeah, I know him. He's cool. And you start going through, and then you can do business with him. So I was involved in counterfeiting. I was involved in gun running. And one thing just leads to another. And I didn't have a lot of fear. So, I could fight. There's a lot of guys out there who could fight. I could fight better than most people, and I was willing to fight like that. So, since I was 10 years old, I had a street rep, and then there's a lot of violence. There's guns and there's weapons, and one of my best friends, he was renowned. He was a prison legend. This guy, he passed away a few years ago. He's 57 years old when he died. I think he had done 37 years of time in his life. It was 1 year in, 6 months out, 2 years in, 2 days out, back and forth and back and forth. And between him and I, we were just a terror. So
when you were at this, you said you were at this with a group of people that you had this come to moment where you're like, I need to do better than like.
I was just looking at the world from a different perspective because it was just that time too. It was that time. I was on the run. I really didn't think I was going to get out of it. I thought it was going to last forever. And I created new identities and a new life, and I thought I was far enough away, and they came and got me.
Did you ever think you were not going to get caught?
No. It just hangs over you. It's so stressful. This weight is just on you. Again, there's really stupid people, so I'm lucky that I'm marginally stupid. And I had this weight on me, and I always felt and I couldn't. I was a consummate professional, and I still am at anything that I do, even writing. I'm learning everything and I'm doing research. And I was a very good fugitive. No contact with family at all. Cut off all ties. I cut off all ties with 99% of my friends and anybody I knew. And I felt bad about some of it because, some people looked at me later and like, hey man, you just disappeared. I said, I had to. I had no choice. Because some of these people were weak links because they'll talk. They'll have a drink and talk. So they come down to Mexico. They get me. I go through the legal circuit. I get out, and there I am standing alone in the world, and all of my friends are doing the same thing.
And when did you get out? Mid-90s?
I got out 90, 93, 94. And all of them were still doing the same thing, and some of them were on a roll. So I kind of hitched on to them because they would buy stuff for me and help me out and kind of carry me, and the action was still there. So you go out to a nightclub with 3 guys that are known drug dealers, you're a celebrity. That's as close as a nobody can get to being a celebrity as being a criminal. It's your moment of celebrity because what do people do at nightclubs? They party. And you're the disco doctor. You got that white disco powder, and everybody wants it. And let me be clear about something. Just like with the cigars, when I was in the streets selling drugs, and my friends were selling drugs, there wasn't the stigma that you have now. Like there's some people from the movie. I'm not going to mention any names now. I want to talk to somebody first, but. The people from the movie Scarface, I was supplying them with their blow in the 80s.
The real people.
The movie. The actors. The actors from the movie Scarface. So there wasn't a stigma. Movie stars did it. Paul Newman wore this little gold spoon. Actors wore gold razor blades. So it wasn't looked at like it is now, and then it went to the street. Then it turned into crack and messed a lot of people up, but it was just powder cocaine. People were doing it and having fun. And I didn't want it anymore. I just said, no, I'm not going to do this. I fought it. And then I was training boxers, and I finally got blanket travel and permission because I'd built my life in Mexico. So I was allowed to go back and forth, but I had to report every month. And I was bringing back boxing gear. And I don't know, probably 2 years went by of training, managing fighters. I got to travel around the world, but it was a schlep. I was schlepping. I was carrying these big suitcases back and forth from Mexico to Chicago selling boxing gear. And I'd go to the boxing gyms, and dealing with boxers isn't easy. And, here's a pair of boxing gloves for $50 and a headgear and a cup and that kind of stuff. And it was bothering me. One day I showed up I went to Cuba on vacation. My friends organized a trip to Cuba, and I was all in.
Because you couldn't go the first time.
Because I couldn't go the first time. I coveted it. I wanted it bad. You know what it's like when something is prohibited, and now I want it. And there was all of these rumors about how amazing Cuba was, that the girls were just like candy. You could just grab a piece and enjoy it. And what do young men want more than anything? Girls.
Yeah.
And so it was a group of 4 or 5 guys. We went to Cuba. And when we got there, I know what happened because I was the only one with a U.S. passport, and they were very rare there. And we had rented a car, and it was booked and everything. And when we got there, they told us, oh, you know what, guys? Forget about the car that you rented. We're going to give you a minivan, and you're going to have your own driver. And right away, I knew that's a spy watching me. I have a U.S. passport. I'm built. I'm clean cut. They're thinking he's with the U.S. government. So had a driver the whole time. We left the airport in Havana, and I'm just curious. I'm looking around, and we see these 2 beautiful young girls on a bicycle on the other side of the highway. And we're going down the highway, and I'm with 3 Hispanic guys. So you know what they're doing. They're hanging out of the window, whistling and yelling, cat calls. Turn around, turn around, turn around. The driver made a U-turn, went around. I happened to be next to the sliding door. So when the van door opened, I saw this girl. She was just very, very attractive. Bright blue eyes, blonde hair, really tan, wearing really short cut-off shorts. And, hey, how are you? And her name was Diami. First girl I ever met in Cuba. So fast forward, I bought 2 boxes of cigars. 1 box of Cohiba Esplendidos and 1 box of Monte Cristo No. 4s because
two great sticks.
Yeah. Great cigars, but I didn't know shit about cigars. When the guys offered me...
Yeah, did you ever smoke... I don't mean to cut you up, but did you ever smoke...
Prior to that.
Like prior to that?
No.
Nothing.
But I had a friend, one of my best childhood friends, Brett. He was a he was very he just liked odd things. He collected antiques and he smoked cigars. And I remember my old uncle Joe Mandarino. He was a gangster, and he smoked a cigar, and he always had it in his mouth. Yeah. Hey, Scotty ain't sick. Get Scotty over here.
He chewed more than he smoked.
Yeah,
right?
he chewed. Always in his mouth. Oh, and the cigar smell. That's probably why
I like. And he take the cigar out, and you can see it's just like
falling
apart.
Yeah. But that's probably why I love the aroma.
Probably.
I love the aroma of a smoked cigar.
So when was this? When was this? When you were in Cuba and you met Diami?
I met her probably 94-ish, 95-ish.
Okay, so this was,
the cigar boom didn't start yet in the U.S. It was just about to start.
So the life of crime, you went out, you got out, you go to Cuba.
Yes.
And all of that time, you weren't smoking cigars, but you had like an aroma that...
I like the aroma.
That you enjoy, and you're like, I don't really know why I like this so much. But so now you're in Cuba.
In Cuba, and I smoke.
And that was your first cigar, was a Cuban cigar.
Cuban cigar. First one I ever had.
You know what? That actually reminds me, we had LFD on. I asked you about LFD before, La Flor Dominicana. Tony, his father gave him his first cigar, right? And the first cigar that he gave him was a Cuban. And
he said, what are you going to do with the cigars? You're going to take a big puff. You're going to bring all the smoke in. You're going to swallow it. You're going to do as much as you can.
So he OD'd him on purpose.
So he gave him a Cuban cigar, told him to inhale it, and he like coughed up a lung. He had basically had a heart attack.
And he's like, that's how you don't smoke cigars.
Not what you're supposed to do.
Right. Thanks, Dad. Thank you.
So, but it's interesting. Your first ever
Cuban.
And was it one of the Esplendido, or was it?
It was neither of those.
Which one was it?
It was no name. I'm going to get into that. Why? I'm going to explain. I'm going to educate some people about cigars, but because there's rollers everywhere in Cuba. Every restaurant, every cigar store, all the hotel lobbies, they all have a roller. So it's hypothetically a generic Cuban cigar. So I bought those 2 boxes.
What do they call those?
Just torcedores.
Yeah. Torcedores? Because there was another one.
Roller. That's a roller.
That's a roller, but the cigar that they give you, there was a name. I remember a story of like that too, where they said, they call it I'll try to Google the name, but it was something like that where the term like generic Cuban cigar. It's like everybody had.
They're everywhere.
It's kind of like a like in Germany, it used to be a sausage maker was a very well known and respected profession.
Of course, just like a sushi chef,
right? A sushi chef, and every butcher had their own sausage, and it's like having a roller in every restaurant, a cigar roller. They had a butcher, a sausage maker, and he would have his own recipe, and he'd be like, "Oh, this is sausage," but every recipe was a little bit different. Everybody had their own different little, and the same thing with the torcedores being a cigar roller. Everybody had their own little recipe, but it was, oh, here's my cigar.
That's right.
And it was like, here's my sausage.
I'll tell you guys
Pause. But the same type of thing, and there was a word for it because we had a guy in one of our lounges that came in. He's like, "Oh yeah, here's one of my
I
something."
don't remember if there was a name. I
Doesn't
would
matter,
have heard
but
it. So anyway, I buy these 2 boxes of cigars for $20 or $25 a piece, and I bought it out of pity. Because the guys are asking me if I want to buy them. I'm looking, they're wearing 1970s bell bottoms, and their clothes are donated from the Salvation Army somewhere. They don't have any money, and I felt terrible. I wanted to give them the money, but I didn't want to offend them. I had brought them a package from their family, had sent me with a package for them, so they came to pick it up. And we had a connection, so we kind of knew each other. They offered them to me, and I said, yeah, sure. I bought them, and I was going to leave them. I was going to abandon them in our hotel room. And my friend with me said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, what am I going to do with those?" And he said, "Smoke them." And I said, no, just leave them here. The maid can sell them or something. And
these are just some of the generic ones?
No. These were the Cohibas and the Monte Cristos.
Oh, so these were those.
But they didn't mean anything to me at that moment. I didn't want to carry them.
What about now? Are you thinking, I should have brought those back?
Yeah,
you know how much money I could have made?
I did bring them. So I threw them in my bag, got home, threw them in my closet, and I went back to Chicago with my boxing gloves. And this was one of my worst schlepping days because I had these, suitcases weren't advanced back then. At least I didn't have one. These were those big old cloth suitcases, and I was dragging them down the street. I got to my friend Brett's house, who was on a roll. Brett was eccentric. He came out of the room in a Versace robe with this really high-end braided gold chain with his little Jewish star, and he laughed at me. He saw me with the bag. He goes, "You still doing that shit?" I go, "Yeah, I got to make a living." He goes, "How much you make on that?" And I said, I make enough for my trip, make $500, $1,000. And he laughed. I make that every minute. And he, he's a coke dealer. And
he's a coke dealer.
Yeah. And he's making all this money, and I'm a little bitter. And there's a backstory to I asked a few friends that were dealers. They were supposed to loan me money, and they backed out at the last minute. And at that moment, Brett said, "Hey, you were in Cuba. You got any cigars?" And I gave him 1 box of the Esplendidos. I gave it to him. And I looked at him and I said, you smoked those already? He said, "No, I sold them." I said, "You sold them?" And he said, "Yeah, $25 a piece." Ka-ching.
Yeah.
I said, $25 a piece. I said to him, "Hey, Brett, if I brought some of those here, if I could get them here, could I sell them?" He said, "Oh, yeah, there's this guy riding around on a scooter now, and he sells them everywhere." He said, "They're getting popular. All the bars, they're opening up lounges." And I said, "Where would I sell them?" And there comes the best idea. We both had this old friend, Howard Frum. He was the Rolex king. He sold used Rolex. Everybody knew Howard Frum. Everybody. I actually have a saying, if you don't know Howard, you're not from Chicago, because anybody who's a player knew Howard. He was in the jewelry row in the most popular building. He had this store that was like a circus. He had this old black guy there polishing shoes, and the athletes went in there, politicians, everybody. And I said, "You think Howard would let me sell him?" They said, "Of course, he likes you." So I was inspired. I went back to Mexico, got a hold of 40 boxes of Cuban cigars, and I hit the road. And what a journey it was. It started a 4-year career as a Cuban cigar smuggler.
Wow. So were you driving or were you flying with these Cuban cigars?
Yeah, I flew one time. I actually, I didn't write about it. I don't really want to get the guy in trouble. He might still be working there. But I had a friend, when you know people, you know a lot of people. I had a guy who was a customs agent at Chicago O'Hare. And he said, yeah, no problem. Fly him in.
Well, back then it was much less.
Everything's on a piece of paper.
Regulated than it is
It wasn't
now,
scrutinized. But still, I'm a criminal. and I'm carrying 2 suitcases full of cigars, and it got close because he pulled me over. And then, pretended he went through the stuff and said, get out of here. And then another guy came over and said, what's he got? And he goes, nothing, let him go. And the guy's like, let's look at it. He goes, no, let him go. And that's how they train them. They train the customs agents, always scrutinize your partner. Your partner said he checked it, check it again. And so I said, no more airplanes. So anyway.
We only flew once.
Yeah, one time. And but when you're doing the cigar smuggle, you meet so many characters. I met so many different people, and they all had a different method. Nobody did it the volume I did. I did a lot.
What were you doing? What was like the type of numbers you were doing?
Well, every trip I took to the U.S., it was between 300 and 600 boxes of cigars.
Wow. And you're driving. You're driving these.
I'm driving. I'm getting them to the border of the U.S. Mexico, and I did it in several different borders. And if anybody who knows anything about the Mexican borders, that is no man's land. It's dangerous and it's heavily scrutinized. But
500 boxes.
Yeah, imagine the size of
so
that.
now 500 boxes.
What kind of car was that? A Ford Bronco?
If the average box is 20 in a box.
25.
25 in a box. Okay, you have 500 boxes. So you're looking at 10,000, 12,000, 14,000 cigars.
I send you the
it's
newspaper
12,500.
Yeah, you sent me in the email. The email you sent me. You sent me all the news articles.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
So it's 12,500 cigars.
I had 5,000 cigars that were taken away.
But I'm doing the numbers. So you have 500 boxes and they're 25 in each. I got freaking something in my eye.
I sold it for an average of around $350 to $500 a box.
Damn. Yeah, so you're making 25 grand every.
And how much did it cost? How much was it?
There was a lot of, but remember, we talked about this, guys, earlier. Old money and current money.
Different.
25 grand back then was a lot of money compared to what it is today.
Yeah.
It's just a different world. But it was not easy. I tell people all the time, you think I just took my private jet to Havana, landed at the airport, Fidel came out to shake my hand, tell his guys to load up Scott's cigars in the back and fly home. Nothing even close to that.
What happened, Just?
Do you guys know the tale of street cigars? Do you know about that?
No.
Okay, well, let's wait until Justin comes back.
Okay.
So you can learn some of the inside stuff.
So why does we wait for that? So what was the travel like from Mexico to Chicago? Were you taking a different car every single time? What kind of car?
It was an entire process. This
Were you by yourself too? I should ask.
No. So I had to get them out of Cuba slowly because they were watching them very closely. And everybody was under the gun. There was a lot of problems. A lot of people got arrested in Cuba for removing cigars, unauthorized cigars. So
how were you? So you were in Mexico getting all the Cuban cigars. So.
Yes, I built a humidor. I built a walk-in humidor, but a large closet, a bathroom-sized humidor.
Wow. You good?
Yeah,
got some smoke in your eye?
No, I don't know what it was. Maybe I had like hot sauce in my finger or something.
Oh damn! You fucked up your face.
Yeah, maybe ash.
So you were getting Cuban cigars from Cuba, and they were being transferred to Mexico?
No. I was personally accompanying every load of cigars
in Cuba.
Out of Cuba, all the way through Mexico to the border, crossing the border, and then all the way to Chicago.
So you're going from Mexico to Cuba to Mexico to Chicago.
Correct.
And you had to fly, right?
You had to fly. So the flights at that time to Cuba were out of Mexico City and out of Cancun, and I did both places.
That wasn't the smoke feeling. That was like I couldn't even open my eye, stinging feel. I'm like, what the heck was that? So I'm wondering if like maybe I had like some hot sauce from lunch or whatever still in my. Well, you're back.
That's what the mace spray is made out of. Pepper.
That actually, quick funny story about that is I was actually I went to a Mexican restaurant with my wife a few years back, and we had guacamole, and I asked, we always like to put fresh jalapeno. Like, I want fresh jalapeno in the guacamole. But they didn't have any jalapenos. They said, we have habanero. I'm like, I'll take habanero. It's even better. and fresh sliced,
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bowl of it.
I got a story just like
And
yours.
so now I'm taking a chip, I'm dipping it into the guacamole, and I'm taking a habanero and putting it on there and eating it, right?
And you rubbed your eye.
And I rub my eye,
Lights
dude, blind
Oh,
for
I
like
did the same
5
thing.
minutes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking just like that. I'm looking at my wife, and all of a sudden I'm like,
It's
babe,
brutal.
I'm like,
Brutal.
babe,
Brutal.
I can't see. She's like, what happened? It's like, I'm tearing. My eyes. I was like, can you walk me to the bathroom? Like, I can't see. I'm completely blind.
Oh my
I was in
God.
the bathroom flushing it out for like 10 minutes, but it was dude, brutal.
Yeah, it just happened.
Brutal.
Brutal.
I did the same thing. I picked up a little piece of that and touched it with my hands a few times, and then I touched my eye.
And it's done. Done.
Damn.
And that's pepper spray, basically.
That's
shit.
pepper
And
spray.
I'm just like, ah.
So I was about to tell you, you guys
Yes.
haven't heard the term street cigars,
Yeah, no.
have you?
No.
So just to educate everybody out there, there's two types of cigars in Cuba, on the island of Cuba. You have street cigars, which are everywhere. They're homemade. They're stolen materials. They're seconds.
Shavings from the floor.
Exactly. Actually, somebody I know, they put a condom inside of the cigar while they were rolling it just to be funny over there in Cuba. The story was told to me. It was told to me by this really pretty Cuban girl that she was sent over on an errand. Just so you guys know, there's people are very promiscuous in Cuba.
Oh,
So,
well,
so
yeah.
they're just all having fun all the time. So she went over to
Yeah,
somebody's house.
it was like the 60s.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
just
Exactly.
Everybody's just banging everybody.
Everybody's just banging everybody. She went over to a house, and the guy that was there, they ended up getting it on.
Don't even.
And they put the condom inside of a cigar that he was rolling there.
No.
Yeah, just to be
Monica
fun.
Lewinsky style?
Yeah.
Damn.
And so anyway,
Yeah, but any real cigar smoker, you can smell it as soon as you pick it up. As soon as you pick up, if you smell that, you can smell the latex.
maybe
100%.
maybe, but
if you're a real cigar smoker, I guarantee you'll be able to smell that. That's a very potent smell.
That latex?
That's
and it used.
a very
And used, yeah, no love.
potent smell.
We're not including the other,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
other
It would probably
elements.
cut through this. Yeah.
So that's what I first did. The beginning of my cigar smuggling career, I was buying the street cigars, and those were $20 to $25 a box. Anywhere from $10 to $30, depending. Like a Monte Cristo.
And you were selling
A,
them for how much?
$500.
So you were buying street cigars,
Yeah.
which are essentially shit.
No. It depending on who you're getting them from. In the beginning, I didn't know. So my first couple trips, I didn't have an idea. I would just look at the beautiful box and say, fine. And then I would get home and I'd sell it to someone, and they'd call me up. They go, what the fuck is wrong with these cigars, Scott? I'd say, what do you mean? They won't smoke. They won't pull. I go, oh, you're kidding. Oh, my God. And so now I started learning. And so the Cubans will do things like they have a Partagas box. So they'll put together that box, and they get the Partagas rings, but the gold band that goes around them, that might say Monte Cristo, so they'll flip it around.
Yeah.
And so it'll just be gold. You're done smoking your cigars, and you look at it and you go, Monte Cristo, these, and then they'd call me and go, what the fuck is this? And then the stamps on the bottom of the cigars box, they're like a serial number. Mm-hmm. So it'll let you know the date of production along with which factory produced the cigars. So in the U.S., people started getting a hold of these codes, and they would match it, and they'd go, well, what the fuck is this? You sold me this box, and the date is 1950. How did you? And I'd go, it's not Japan, it's not
Like,
Germany.
You think that they just reused the box, man? Like,
No, they're making everything. They're stealing it from the factories.
Yeah, they do whatever they can to put together a box.
Because they're making $2. They
Yeah.
need some money. They're hungry. And
So a lot of those street cigars, they were just rollers that worked in a factory that maybe wanted to make a couple extra bucks, so they like stole whatever they could.
A little bit of everything. So I had rollers at the factory that brought me their cigars. So I had one guy in particular because he was a top level roller, and he was rolling double Coronas, and it was a coveted cigar. They were not easy to get. So You couldn't just walk into the factory store as a tourist and say, give me a box of this, this, and this. The cupboards were bare. The counters were, it was third world completely. And they were worried about supplying their distributors. They have distributors all over the world. They're writing big checks. Take care of them first. The tourists can get the generic one from the roller or the crappy little machine ones we have in the store.
Yeah. Well, that was another thing too, is like a lot of like before it was like, now you can get Cubans anywhere, right? It's not, but when it was illegal to get Cubans, a lot of the tourists, right, they would go down, whatever, and say, "Oh, I got the, and even now, like if you go to like Dominican Republic or if you go
they're all fake,
and everybody's like, "Oh, I can get them." I said, they're all people. My buddies would say, "Oh, I got these Cubans from Dominican Republic," and they send me a picture and they go, "Are these real?" And I don't even have to look at it. Right off the bat, I said, "No, it's fake." He goes, "How do you know?" I said, "Because they don't sell."
It's a little box.
I said, "They don't sell Cubans in a 5-pack." I was like,
Yeah.
"They don't." I was like, "Cubans come."
No, they do.
In a
they do sell them in a 5-pack.
Not in this little coffin box with a little, the little coffin.
Yeah.
It's a little coffin box with a piece of glass on it.
Those
and
are
I'm
all
like,
fake.
they're
All the
fake.
glass covers are fake.
But I was telling people, I say, guys, so listen, back when it was like illegal, right?
It's very illegal still.
Just to Euro. I mean, you can get them easily.
I think the U.S. now allows you up to 100 Cubans.
Yeah, so
they just changed it again. I was actually on my way back to Cuba. I want to do some videos. I want to visit some people. And then they just changed the law about 3 weeks ago.
Well, you can bring some back.
You can't. It's the embargo. You can't fly out of the U.S. to Cuba anymore.
So like I went to.
But you can bring. But if you have cigars, like if you have Cuban cigars,
they allow you like a box.
Yeah.
So,
like I went to Toronto a couple of years ago. I went to
you can bring it back.
La Casa. What is it?
La Casa de Habanos.
Yes. So the one in Toronto, I bought a bunch of Cubans.
Now those are real.
Yeah.
But you could also
I remember looking
get
it up. It was like I can bring up to 100, and if I do anything more than 100, then I have to sign all this paperwork.
Okay.
Yeah. So you bring
back then you couldn't bring any.
You couldn't bring any.
Yeah.
So my point was like what you were saying is these factories would say, no, we need to, the good stuff, the real good stuff.
That goes to their
the top guys, and then you guys can get this other shit. So people are like, oh, I got these Cuban cigars. I'm like, guys, listen, like I wouldn't say, obviously not guys now, like it's a little bit different now, but back then I said, the people were saying I got Cubans. I said, yeah, but you're not getting Cubans. Like you were getting like the crap because all of the Cubans were going to their top guys.
But not the ones I was selling eventually.
But not the ones you're getting.
So what happened is you go there, everywhere you go, they're offering you poon and cigars and sometimes together. So it's like, wow, this is an amazing place. And everywhere you go, I'm not exaggerating at all. You walk. I was actually in a restaurant one day. I got up from my table, walked to the bathroom. Some guy came in the bathroom like, what the fuck? He's like, hey man, you want to buy some cigars? It started getting to you. Enough is enough. Everybody had them. But because I was looking for certain brands, because I had orders, people made orders. So I say, I have to find Diplomáticos. And I'd ask anybody who came up to me.
That's a funny Diplomáticos. Isn't that the one that JFK ordered?
I think so.
Diplomáticos.
I know he liked H. Upman's.
Oh, no.
Oh, it was H. Upman's. It was H. Upman's, not Diplomáticos. It was H. Upman's. That's right.
Yes, that's correct.
I wanted to ask. Keep going because I'm going to ask you about that story. That's always great.
Okay, so it's all these street cigars everywhere, and I'm buying and buying and buying, and I'm going home. But I learned quick. I went to go meet that other guy who rode around on his scooter. His name was Mark. I was introduced to him. Somebody gave him my number. He called me up one night. I went to his house. He starts, because he was hungry for cigars. They needed them. And I brought my cigars there, and he starts looking through them like a scientist. This guy knew his shit, and he would like prick the end of it, and he'd see if they pulled. And he looked at me and he goes, hey, friend, you got to learn how to pick cigars. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Pick cigar? I still didn't know. I was new.
Yeah.
He's like, he's a shit. I'm going to send you to my guy. When you're over there in Havana, you go and look for Daryl. He said, Daryl will help you. He's got great connections. And then we started talking about girls. And this is, he was probably 45 at the time. He's going, oh, these fucking girls, such liars. The Cuban girls are liars. And I'm like, liars? You're a 45-year-old fat man that wants to date 19-year-old girls. They got boyfriends and other suitors. Just go for the ride. He said, yeah, I showed up there. My girlfriend never answered me because she had another foreigner there visiting. Don't show up. Play the game. Pretend like you don't know. anyway, I started learning, and I didn't want to lose customers because I had great customers. I sold to Michael Jordan. I sold to...
you did?
Oh, yeah. I used to go to Michael Jordan's house. And I sold to many of the Chicago Bears.
His favorite is the part against Lusitania.
Well, at that time, he loved the double Corona. So I would get him Oyo Monterey, Partagas, and I would get him special cigars. I had a roller. She would hand make them without a mold. And I would get double Corona Bellicoso. So they were...
That's a monster of a stick.
But Michael's hand is like, the size of the cigar box. So and I got him these, they're like a Salomon, and they're this odd shape, and I would get those, the double Corona size. This woman, she was one of Fidel's private rollers when he smoked. And she would be locked in a room because the CIA tried to poison him through cigars. So they had them locked in a room with security. They went in there nude. And
so Jordan was smoking Fidel cigars.
Yes, he was. And I got people the best of the best. So what happened is, and it was kind of fate. I was there with my ex-wife, and I had a customs agent who was helping me get them out. Long story short, we got caught. We got our passports taken. I got a court date. I went back for the court date because he told me he was going to help me, but I lied to him. I told him they were factory cigars. I always told everybody they're factory, but they weren't. He tried to help me, and I got exiled from Cuba. So they threw me out of there, and they told me, you're going to end up getting locked up because I had 4 other guys that ended up in jail there in my place.
Where did you get pulled over or arrested for?
No, at the airport in Havana.
Oh, in Havana.
In Havana, it's a scary thing. There's no no democracy.
Is it true that Havana is basically like stuck in time?
Yes.
Like in the 1950s, like all the cars are from the 50s. Like it's just stuck in the 1950s.
Well, there's a line because so you'll see Mercedes taxis. So tourism is protected. So there's Mercedes taxis outside of all of the hotels, but everything is government owned. There's no private business.
Yeah.
And if you want to put a private business as a foreigner, the government of Cuba will always own 51%. So you have no voice, no vote, but you can make some money.
It's communist.
Exactly.
Communism.
And so when that happened and we were held from our flight, I met a guy at the airport. He was American, and he was dancing, and he was drinking, and he was loaded, and I'm talking to him, and I'm like, what are you so fucking happy about? I wasn't happy. They took 500 boxes of cigars from me. And he's like, yeah, I came down here on a cigar run. I'm bringing cigars back to San Francisco. I sell them, and he was boasting about who his clientele was. And I said, how do you get them out? He goes, what do you mean how I get them out? Buy them at the factory and I get them out. I go, oh, you buy at the factory? I said, I haven't been able to buy at the factory. He goes, you go and see Ernesto Lopez at the Partagas and you tell him you're Larry's friend and you can get anything you want. It's like, nice to know. So that was the beginning of... Well, that wasn't the last of it. I still went back to Cuba because I had 1,000 more boxes of cigars that I bought, and I got them out. I had guys getting them out. The last trip I had, it was me and 4 other guys, and these poor guys, because most of them I just paid for their airfare so they could go there, and all they had to do was carry 2 boxes of cigars. And they got caught. We all got caught, but I got out of there. Me and another guy got out of there. And they all went to jail for a week, confiscated all of their cigars. They turned them into snitches. They had to go and show it where I would buy them, who my contacts were. And one of the guys knew everything, so he was forced to tell. And that was it. I couldn't go back. And if I wasn't there to do it, it wasn't going to go right. And I sent my ex-wife to see the Partagas factory director. And, I called him on the phone and went over everything with him. She went, and then I started buying factory cigars. So from then on, I only bought factory. So I'm going to say...
What was the significance of buying directly from the factory?
You're getting top quality.
But what's
the price went up.
So
what's
you
the significance of
became
getting it out of
much
Cuba?
Easier to get it out of Cuba, too. So there was a limit, $1,000 per person. So that's what you had, $1,000 limit of store-bought cigars you could get out of Cuba.
Now I feel like So I feel like that could be very loose because
it
if
is
you
loose.
work a deal where you say, "Hey, listen, I need to get like 10,000 cigars out. Can you make them,
Yeah,
10 cents a piece just on paper?"
We did a lot of
You know
that.
what I'm saying?
And
So now it's
Brady,
9,000.
You're pretty quick. You're pretty
You
quick.
know what I'm saying?
And I'll tell you what I did.
Because $1,000 is different than 1,000 cigars.
Now what they were able to do, and you just mentioned the 5-packs. That's why I jumped in right away. They do have the 5-packs because I would buy the Monte Cristo number 4s. They have a display case of them where the cardboard opens up, and then you just have this line of boxes of 5s. And let's pretend those were $20 for a box of 5. I would buy the whole box of 15, and they'd put the price as 20. So I did that kind of stuff. And what I figured out is the customs agents don't have a lot of time to spend with one person. So I would make sure that the invoices were confusing and convoluted.
Yeah.
So they just look, what the fuck? Okay, this one's 200 and not added up.
And you don't have one invoice. You have like 15 invoices.
That's exactly what I did.
So I got 50. It's all right.
Here's this one. Here's this one. Here's this one.
That's exactly what I did.
Which,
Exactly.
like, okay, so if you do that and it comes out where, the number it's 1,000. It's supposed to be $1,000, but it comes out maybe they add it up too quickly and it's actually like 1,100. That extra $100, if it's 5 of those cases that are $20 a piece. That's an extra 1,000 cigars. That
I got to tell you, I'm pretty surprised. I'm pretty surprised you figured that out like that. And
he's a numbers guy. He's a numbers guy.
Are you a numbers guy?
I am.
Okay, so I thought it was great. I just figured it out right away, and I just worked it on them, and it worked so
That's
well.
awesome.
Yeah.
So again, I'm trying to understand. So getting the cigars out of Cuba? Why
Was
buying
difficult.
Why was it easier to buy directly from the?
No, it wasn't easier. I would have loved to have been able to bring street cigars my entire life. I was tired of the problems.
It was
I had
it was just
quality.
an easier
I-
process.
quality.
So now
It
you
was the
found a
quality.
way to become one of those
legitimate.
big accounts that now the factories are giving the best cigars to the big accounts.
No. There's no big account. Nobody. It just wasn't accepted there, and they don't want anybody making big business in Cuba. They don't want people having money. Even the director of the factory still only made $50 a month as a salary.
No, when I meant big account, meaning
you can't. No. Big accounts are foreigners, and they're shipping them on a plane or a freight.
Oh, so you still weren't one of the.
Oh, no. I had to bribe. I had to. You had to be creative.
Were you getting the same quality cigars as the foreigners?
Absolutely same quality cigars as everybody, because they're pulling them from the stock, but it was limited what they could pull.
Okay, so you found a way to get the
Exactly.
same cigars as them without being.
I became friends with them.
Wow.
I brought packages from Miami for them. Their family would say, "Hey, can you send $500 to Jose?" And I'd come give him the envelope, and he goes, "Okay, Scott, I have," and it was minimal. So let's pretend in Havana there's 50 stores. I had to go to all 50 stores because I would get 2 boxes at one, 20 at
limited
another.
yeah.
I was schlepping, and I would.
So
go,
you went from schlepping boxing gloves to now I'm schlepping cigars.
and I was complaining about it the whole way. I would say, why can't I sell something that is this big? Why does it have to be a big box of cigars?
Yeah.
But I had to do it. And I was a man on a mission because I saw this was the cocaine of the 80s, now in the 90s. And people, that Michael Jordan would call me. His wife told me, "You are Michael Jordan's favorite person. Scott, when are you coming to bring him his cigars?" And he would ask for specific boxes, and I would get them. And then the day he called me out and said, "Scott, why did you sell me fake cigars?" I said, "Michael, what are you talking about? I would never sell you fake cigars." And I actually went above and beyond my duty to get the best I could for my customers because I didn't want to be scrutinized. Oh, it feels really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when people are calling, that's why I changed it, and I was happy.
and it changes business because then
Completely.
because
And
then people
but-
are like, well, you give me how can I trust you that these going to be
Exactly. And it felt terrible. I had this one Greek bookie that he was in my sights. If it would have been another time, I would have beaten you. But I couldn't do that because the word would have gone around fast, and you can't run around beating your customers. But he told everybody, those are fakes. Those are fakes. My cigars were 100% legit. I never sold a box of cigars that wasn't from Cuba. And I probably did it for around a year, the street cigars, but I got better and better at it. So they were good quality. I had good rollers. I had good people supplying me.
You're lucky that the boxes weren't made out of wood like some of them are.
Oh, they
now.
are.
The ones that you were getting back then, were they wood boxes or
Oh,
were they cardboard?
Yeah. No.
Because a lot of Cubans come in some of those cardboard boxes now.
No. Wood. Heavy. And
That's
they would
heavy
clank
shit.
together.
Because, you got we have a couple of them up here. We did have one. Did we take it down?
What are you looking for?
No, we had a.
Maybe is that a Partagas wood box over there?
There was a couple, but some of them come in like a regular, cardboard. Some of the lower end.
Yeah. I still
Cuban
had
ones,
some of
but
those.
The higher ones do, like the Esplendidos. All they come in the wood box and stuff. But some of the
even the Monte Cristos and the Romeo and Julietas, there's wood underneath the labels, so it's thin wood.
Thin, but they're not like some. I mean,
some of them are heavy.
Some of them are.
The Partagas 989s, all of the Cohibas, the Monte Cristo A's, those are all wood. Punch would come in that 50 box with the sliding top.
Now, were you able to get them in bundles or no?
Bundles are called masos.
Were you able to get them in bundles?
Oh, I would get some really good ones.
Because that saves a bunch of weight right there.
Oh, not only that, I could get them out because they have no commercial value in Cuba. So when I would come to the airport, I would check my bags with a certain amount, and then I would confuse them. I'd have shopping bags and shoulder bags, and I'd have 6 people with me. Everybody looks like they're a gypsy with carrying all this shit. And the masos, 25 bundle of cigars, and then I would wrap them with good plastic paper, get them nice and tight and protected, and I could tell them they were $2 because they don't care about those. They care about their brand.
Because there's no label. There's no branding on it.
And then people were also pulling the masos out, and then in a different suitcase they would have labels and bands and all that kind of stuff.
So did you do that too? You take the labels off?
I did that too, and I got caught. One of my
That's
best
another way you
customers.
can say, like, okay, you can take an Esplendido, but you take the label off.
Well, I was crossing them
look
across
like an
the border
Esplendido,
myself for a period of time in the trunk of my car without labels, and I got caught there.
Did you ever do 2 trips? You have one with the cigars and then one with the labels?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I did everything you could possibly imagine. I was
because the labels, they don't care about the labels. Yeah. Care about the cigars.
They do now.
Now
now it's a big deal.
Were you ever like driving in a car with a boatload of cigars, just like smoking a cigar, just driving and being like, I'm a cigar smuggler. Like, this is what I do.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. We were talking about this a little earlier. The camaraderie of smoking.
Because you're not smoking a cigar now, so I'm sure
not smoking.
The people that are watching, he's not smoking a cigar because the last time he smoked a cigar was 25 years ago.
It was 25 years ago, and I'm scared because of the cigar sickness.
Yeah.
Because I had it a few times and it hit me hard.
It sucks.
I had one at shout out to Matador's Cigars, one of our customers. I would always go in there before we had this. I would go in, and Frank, he retired and he lives in Florida now. Very knowledgeable about cigars. I would always go in, and because it was across the street from the office, so they opened it up. I'm like, this is a blessing and a curse because now I can smoke whenever I want. But now I'm smoking every single day after work. I'm going to have a cigar, and I go and I say, Frank, what do you got that's new? Like, because I would like
something strong.
So he had given me. It's a company called Black Label Trading Company, BLTC, and they came out with a cigar that was called the Deliverance.
Okay.
Real dark, like a Scuro wrapper. Okay. And it's tapered on both ends, like a torpedo, like a double torpedo. Yeah. Short cigar, a little bit shorter than this, but like a 60 ring.
Yeah, I've seen them.
And he's like, you got to try this. He goes, but it packs a punch. Like it's Nicaraguan Puro. It's peppery. It's punch. It's strong, right? Okay, I'll try it. Forgot to eat lunch that day. Sat down in the back. Had a cup of coffee.
See ya.
Smoking this cigar.
The coffee and the cigar.
Smoked
together.
it for about an hour. Okay, about an hour. And then I'm like, all right, it's time to go home. I stand up and I'm just like, it's like, whoa. I was just like, sat right back down. And I sat there for another like half an hour because it was like the sweats come on. I'm getting dizzy. I was just like, nah. I'm just going to sit here for another half an hour.
I've had it a couple of times in the podcast. Like coming straight from work and smoke a cigar. I'm like, all right, Just, we got to pause for a second because I think the worst part is the sweats
And
then
the nausea.
The nausea.
The nausea
Oh,
kills me.
forget it.
Yeah.
And you know
Oh
what
my
happens
God.
too a lot of times is, so after we'll, like, if it's just us, we'll have we'll shoot an episode, short one, 30 minutes, but then we do a lot of content. So we'll make Instagram posts, we'll take pictures, and a lot of times is we're smoking.
Well, I
right?
guess.
So what we're doing is, like, for instance, we'll take a picture of the Diligent. We set it up. We put the whiskey there. We put everything. We put the cigars. We're trying to take a picture. But we always say, you know, it'd be cool is if there's some smoke in the background.
Okay.
So one of us is trying to take the picture, and the other one is there.
Puffing away. If you puff too fast,
And we're puffing for like 15 times inside of 30 seconds, and you're just like, oh, you just get
Yeah, forget it. Forget it.
I
So
didn't know
be
what it was the
patient.
first time.
Be patient with your cigar.
I didn't know what it was. Did you know what it was the first time it happened to you?
The first time, the very first time, no. I
Me
remember.
either.
No, you know what I
clue.
thought? I thought I smoked a bad cigar.
Me too. I thought it had mold or something.
I thought it had mold. I was laying down in my apartment, my old apartment by myself, laying on the bathroom floor like, oh, what the
I'll
hell?
never forget. I was in the Owl Shop in New Haven, Connecticut. It's like one of the oldest cigar. It's actually a smoke shop. You can smoke cigarettes in there, but it's a very old, antiquated, and vintage spot. And I remember my father and my brother came to visit me, and we went out to eat. Surprisingly, it must have been a long period of time after we ate. Went to the cigar shop because I remember sitting in the back, thinking I'm with my dad, I'm with my brother, we're smoking, we're having a good time, and then all of a sudden I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I don't feel so good. And like my dad and my brother are yucking it up, and I'm like, because I'm trying not to like let them know I feel like shit. I'm like, why do I feel like this? Like, and I just like fought through it for like 20 minutes. I didn't really talk, and they're like, are you all right, guy? And I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I just put some water on my face, drank the dirty sink water, and I was
Same
like,
thing.
I gotta feel better.
We actually had a guest on here.
Happened to them.
That happened to them.
That's why I'm not smoking. Just so you guys know,
It happened to them.
That's why I don't want it to happen here.
And I told him, like, listen, I said, you want to know what helps? I said, first, you gotta get a big plate of food. I was like, but can of Coke, something like a sugary drink,
A sugar rush.
I was like, I know, like, listen, it's terrible for you. Coke is terrible for you, but a sugary drink, or like even like a piece of chocolate, or some sort of sugar, it helps.
Yeah,
it
absorb
really helps if you've got some sort of sickness.
if you
Get a
carry,
little-
some Splenda on you in
like
your jacket
just
pocket,
like
just pop
a
it real quick.
can of Coke, or like a little piece of a couple cookies or something like that, because it helps. And I told him, I said, listen, just drink the Coke, eat the food, and you'll be all right. And it passes. But
Have you had anybody on here who was involved in the cigar rush of the 90s? Did you guys know much about it?
involved, I mean, yeah, we're familiar with
massive.
it. Yeah, it's
No,
huge.
we've known it. We've heard about the history and
Beautiful women, models at events, smoking cigars.
Oh
They
my
were
God, Demi
coveted.
Moore and all these actresses, Jennifer
Correct.
Lopez smoking cigars. Yeah, for sure.
Because the demand was more than I could feed. I couldn't get enough cigars, and I think back, I could have done both
I mean,
things.
Michael Jordan was smoking every game in the
yeah,
locker
yeah.
rooms
Yeah,
before the
that's
game.
right, that's
He
right.
would go into the other person.
Before they
You
won
heard that
that last
story?
championship, I got him those several special boxes. I was at his house. Remember, he was supposedly sick.
You know that
final
story?
round?
That's food poisoning. He think that if you've ever watched The Last Dance.
No, I haven't seen it.
All right, so since you're friends with Michael Jordan, you spied him. Watch The Last Dance. There's an episode they talk about that where he got sick. He got sick.
Yeah, he was sick.
The story goes the night before he was starving, wanted food, and he ordered pizza. But in the
There's only one pizza.
There was
spot
only
open.
one pizza place that was open in the whole city. There was only one that was open, and he's like, I'm starving. I gotta order something. So he ordered pizza, and he said that his agent or something answers the door. And he said the agent was like, right off the get.
They poisoned. They gave it to
He
him
said
so he couldn't play.
There was like four guys
There was
at
like
the door.
four guys
They do this
delivering.
in boxing.
They said it was like four guys delivering the pizza, and the agent, it was either his agent or his friend or somebody said like, Mike, I got a bad feeling about this. And Mike's like, listen, I'm starving, I got to eat, and he ate it anyway. And then they think that there was food poisoning. He was like, what are the odds? There's only one pizzeria and four guys show up. Turns out he gets food poisoning. Says, F it, I'm playing anyway, and plays, and then still kicks their ass.
Yeah.
And now, could you imagine if you're the other team and you organized this, and you try to poison with food, and he comes out and he drops 45 points or whatever.
He's Michael.
Could you imagine how demoralized you're like? There's nothing. You put your hands up like there's nothing I can do.
I don't think it was going to be the team. I think it was just I forgot who they're playing.
Whoever wanted to do
if
it.
the guy who owned the local shop, they found out it was Michael Jordan. They're like, fuck it, yo, throw some shit.
Guaranteed, when they found out, the guy's like, I'm gonna call Johnny at the book. But could you imagine how demoralized that you must feel? Like there's nothing you could do. There's nothing you could. Guy plays with 104 fever.
I'm surprised that guy didn't write a book.
In boxing. It's very common in boxing because you go to other people's backyard. So you might go to England, you might go to Japan or Australia, and we always get food from outside of the normal routes, and other people on the team will go get the food because what they used to put some type of soap or detergent, and it'll get them sick.
Like eye drops.
Yeah, eye drop. There you go. They used to use eye drops.
Eye drops in the water. Glass of
diarrhea.
Water.
There you go. So they would do that kind of stuff to the fighters because anything to have an advantage.
Oh, it's definitely for sure.
So what was the last subject we were on with the cigars?
You were just starting to say something about Michael Jordan getting sick with the cigars.
Yeah. I went to his house. I went to Michael's house the day before that game, and he was out in the backyard smoking a cigar. And he was putting. He had a putting green out there, and I said, "Hey, Mike, you still sick?" And he goes, "Time to kick some ass." And that was it. And then that night or the next day they won. And those cigars that he used in the celebration, I have a big picture of him smoking that cigar because I had brought them for him. And it's a moment of pride. You feel good about it.
That's
so we were talking about like the '90s boom of
the boom,
which I would argue is. It's kind of like that now.
It's getting like that again.
It's getting like that again.
I noticed how popular it's getting.
Why do you say that?
Because it's getting big again. The magazines are coming back. There's podcasts about it, but it was dead for a little while. Americans, we are amazing at creating trends, and then we make them larger than life.
I'm going to Google something because I would argue.
See how big the demand is now.
Well, I would also
to
say the amount of new cigars that are coming on the scene
more than back then.
Yeah, like I would say, I was going to ask. Are you going to ask ChatGPT?
No, I was trying to find a picture of Michael Jordan with him smoking a cigar.
Oh, yeah,
he's another. We would love to get him on the show and talk cigars and talk all sorts of stuff.
He loves cigars.
I know.
Is it one of these pictures?
No, he's on an angle, so Michael's on the side. I think he's got a cap on. You can see the Oyo Monterey.
Did you ever hear about the story of him going into the other team's locker room?
This one? Is it this one?
With the cigar?
That one?
No, but similar. That hat and that cigar.
Okay. So he there's a story. I forgot. I think he was playing against I can't remember who it was, but he goes. He's always smoking cigars.
Right,
always smoking cigars, and he's got a lit cigar. Right, and he walks into the other team's locker room before the game. Lit cigar.
Right.
Walks around. Right. He's got a cigar. Takes a couple puffs, and he's looking. He goes, "So who's guarding me tonight?" Right. And all the teams, the other team is like looking at each other, and they look over at the guy who's guarding them, and they kind of give a little nod, and Michael goes 50 and walks out, and he proceeds and I think he dropped 55 that night, and I go. Dude, could you imagine the other team? You're sitting there and Mike walks in. Who's checking me? Oh, he is. 50, and he walks out.
Some of the guys who are at the top of their game, that's what they're like. They got so much confidence.
I'd go to the coach back. I ain't guarding him. Put somebody else on. Not me. You put somebody else guarding
Arnold Schwarzenegger was similar. He demoralized anybody who was competing against him. You were looking up the rush then compared to now, the demand. I know that it's growing now. It's everywhere. Again, maybe it's really good timing for my book. I had postponed the book because there was a lawyer in Chicago by the name of Richard Mickey Connors. He was smuggling cigars at the same time as me, and he wrote a novel about his cigar smuggling adventures, and he got disbarred. Wow. And he did 3 years in federal prison. He fought it. He went to trial. You do not fight Uncle Sam because you will never win. And he poked the bear in the eye, and he took it all the way. They disbarred him. They took his house away, and he went to prison for 3 years. So
For stuff that he did back in the day with
No. He wrote it at the same time.
Oh.
So he was smuggling cigars between 1996 and 2000, my same period. And he wrote the book in 1999. And he got arrested and finally went to prison around 2002, 2003, because the trial can last for a long time. Yeah. So he ruined his life because of writing that book.
Wow.
And that's when I
You think an attorney would think, kind of know better not to do that right away.
I don't know what was on his mind.
Yeah.
And his ex-wife was part of it. She had something to do with it. She started dating one of the ATF agents that was investigating him. So she gave him some paperwork, and I think she gave him parts of his book. Anyway, they took it all the way, and he went to prison.
Wow.
And after that, there's
what was his name?
His name was Richard Connors.
Connors.
I'm actually trying to find him through a friend of mine, Neil Spector, who is a Chicago attorney. These guys were public defenders at the same time together. If I'm not mistaken, they might have even been college roommates. And Neil was trying to find him for me, and nobody can find him. He might be living in Cuba. When I go there, I'm planning to go there after. I still work with a boxer world champion, Rafael El Divino Espinosa. I'm an advisor. I help with his training. And after his next fight, he's fighting November 15th. After that fight, we're going to go to Cuba on a trip. And I'm going to see if I can find Mickey Connors.
Wow. Hopefully you find him.
I hope I find him. We'll trade some stories.
Look through the yellow pages.
About the old days. Yeah, that's what I said. Neil asked me, "Do you think you can find him? You got any contacts in Cuba?" Are you kidding? No, almost nobody has a phone. I heard they have cell phones now.
Do you still communicate with some people in Cuba that you used to know and network? And
here's the funny thing. The first guy I ever bought cigars from, Arturo, this little Cuban guy, I still talk to him. He actually came and we did a video together a couple of weeks ago, and he sold me. I bought the box of Cuban cigars just out of respect for him coming and doing the interview with me. And here's the funny thing. I did a video. It's on probably on all of my social media. It's a box of Romeo and Julietas, but the seal and the all of the stickers and seals that prove that it's authentic are still inside the box, and they haven't been used, which is a giveaway that they're fake. Those aren't real.
Do you know about their certificate of authenticity with a Cuban box of Cuban cigars?
The one that goes over the front?
No, when you open up the cigar, the little piece of tissue paper.
Yeah, the one that goes on the front when you open it up.
The little brown and white one.
The wax paper.
Yeah, what about it?
Do you know that if you put that in your hand, it actually curls up because of the warmth? Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so one of the things is that there's
we had a buddy, another guy who wrote a book, and he's Cuban. He wrote a book, and he actually wrote a blurb about us in his book. So we had him on.
Awesome.
We had him on, and he talked about it, and he brought us a box of Romeo and Juliet Cuban cigars. So Justin said, "Hey, let's see if these are legit Cubans."
Because that's one of the things is that paper it's made with is a very fine tissue paper.
In your honor, I'm going to do that on video when I get home.
Yeah, I'm going to try and find the video of us doing it.
But let me tell you
Now, I don't know if it's in every single Cuban box, but in this particular box, there's this little piece.
It's in all of the full boxes.
Okay, and then sometimes
I have it. It's in there.
Sometimes there's fake ones where you put it in there. It's made with not that thin. It's made with regular paper,
not the exact paper, right?
Regular paper, and you put it in your hand. It doesn't. But this one with that thin, you put it in your hand, and it for after 5-10 seconds, it goes. And it starts curling up.
Cool.
I'm like, that's freaking cool.
And he was sweating bullets. He's like, holy shit, thank God.
I was going to tell you about that seal. You know the seal they put on front? It looks like a bill, green and white. There's a small shield on there. And in the factory, when they put that on, they fold it completely exactly down the middle of that shield. So that's how you know that is authentic. But I think everybody who fakes them now knows that.
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things like... especially with Cohibas, because they're probably the number one faked Cuban. Because
they're so expensive.
Yeah, there's the Indian head inside the Indian head, the little hologram.
Okay.
So you know the Cohiba, right? They have the Indian head on it. Yeah. There's a hologram inside of that.
They didn't have that. All that stuff is new.
It's new. There's one the number of rows on the dot. There's a lot of things.
There's a lot of small details that the experts in Cuba can use to identify them.
Same thing when you open a box is... Because they're so meticulous about when they put the cigars.
When they place them, they're color-coded from left to right.
And the labels are all perfectly lined up. If there's any one that's a little bit off,
and they're all late. I have a couple details. First
Yeah.
thing, the first thing I have to confess, I never bought original Cohibas. They were just too expensive. But I had a guy named Rubio that was just great. He brought me the best quality Cohibas, and I didn't sell as many Esplendidos as I did Robustos. Those were so popular.
Well, the size.
That the size and probably the price, because
I mean, that's what this is. We call it a Robusto Gordo because it's a little bit thicker, but Robusto is the
I
most
like it.
smoked.
It's probably my favorite size.
Well, you know,
next to a Corona.
So this size, we actually modeled it after a Cuban cigar.
Okay.
So there's the Romeo and Juliet wide Churchill.
That's the one I just bought. That the guy brought me that box.
It's a 5x54, which is why, because that's our favorite Cuban, which is why this is a 5x54. But the Robusto meat, it's the most popular size of all cigars. That's the most popular size. So it's like,
and that box of Robustos was $495 at the factory store in 1996.
yeah.
There's no way I'm buying those, transporting them, and selling them.
You'd have to sell it for $4 or $5 grand for you to make it worth.
No. They were selling them out of Canada for probably $1,000.
Well, for you to, but my point is, if you could buy a box of 25 and then sell them for 500.
No, I was happy making whatever I made off them because there was a lot of volume. I had customers that would drop 30 grand. I don't really want to talk about the total.
How about
I was
this?
doing well.
But
I was spending a lot of money along the way.
How about we do this? How about just percentage? What was the percentage markup?
Just think about this. The average box of cigars cost me between $100 and $150 in the factory store. And I sold those from $400 to $600.
So you're making, 200-300% markup.
But I was bringing the muscles.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
those
yeah.
were.
We don't have to get into total numbers, but the margin
and
is
I was
there.
bringing the Cohibas. Now that was a huge margin. I was paying $20 a box, and I was selling them for $500 a box. So that compensated for some of the other things.
So they can do the math. They can,
and I would buy everything. I would buy the small boxes of machine rolled. And I would get those for $25, and I'd still sell them for $250.
What was the most popular that you felt you had the most orders for, the most requests?
I would say the torpedoes, Monte Cristo number 2s. Everybody wanted those, and I could only get a certain
amount. You know what's interesting about those? It's like
it's just a Robusto once you cut it off.
It's just a Robusto when you cut it off. But there's really nothing like when you're talking about the look of it. There's nothing. It doesn't look very. The label is so simple.
Americans are strange.
It's the
people.
tiniest little label with a little M on it, a little brown label. Like ours, it's big. There's gold. There's all this. That has nothing on it. It's
they were harder to get.
Plain,
probably because they were harder to get. And the Diplomatico,
people want what they can't have.
That was even harder to get. And they wanted those. And then there was the Bellicoso, the Bolivar. The Bolivar Bellicoso.
Yeah. Another simple label.
Those three I could sell as many as I could get, but I couldn't get them. And once I started buying factory cigars, I didn't want anything to do with the street cigars, but the demand for the Cohibas was there. And here's a great story.
I feel like but Cohibas are probably the most well-known.
Because they're the most exclusive and expensive. The Cohibas in the beginning, in the inception of the Cohiba, they actually had their own factory. It was the El Laguido factory, which was like a subdivision kind of near where Fidel had one of his homes. And they but then they started making them all. So what I was going to tell you guys, I went to the factory many, many times. I was known there like it was my home. And here's something that everybody out there can think about. The Partagas factory made about 25 different brands, including Cohiba Esplendidos. Some of them were made there.
Yeah, that's typical nowadays too, is certain factories make others.
Think about this. Think about how much the bands actually matter. You have 150 rollers on a floor, all labor. The laborers are spread out throughout these rooms, and they're rolling the cigars, and then a person in a cart is just rolling up. And
boop, like shopping cart. Boop,
and they're just loading them up. But there's no way to distinguish what brand is brand. And then they take them to the other rooms. They have a cooling room, and then they take them to the color coding room where there's a man just picking by color.
Now, there's got to be some like...
There is no control over the brand.
No, but what I was saying is there's got to be some like what should have been a Cohiba is marked as
There
a Partagas?
There is not.
No, huh?
There is not. I've been there. I've seen it with my own eyes.
No, but what I'm saying is, do you think that like, okay, so like you said, there's no, they're putting cigars in, you can't tell what's what. Do you think that
they're just filling orders according to what the demand
so
is.
there could so you could be ordering a box of Cohibas
correct.
that it should have been a Partagas, but
That's
they
correct.
don't know.
That's correct.
So there's a lot of mixing, and they're just like, fill the orders, man. They ain't gonna know the difference.
And I got a great story.
Which the average cigar may not, unless you're like a super seasoned taster.
That is correct.
You might not know it.
That is correct. There's but there is a difference in Cuban tobacco because the earth is different.
Yes, yeah.
The humidity, the
it's
region
different.
where they're grown, the tobacco, and then they're taking care of it. It's one of the industries that's taken care of in Cuba.
Yeah, and I always tell people because I saw a video you were saying about like, are Cuban cigars the best, and you were like, yeah, the soil and this that it makes for a really good tobacco plant. I always tell people, I said, listen, Cuban cigars are great if you like the flavor of Cuban tobacco.
There you go.
I was like, it's just like, hey, listen, I could give you a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle bourbon, and it's the best bourbon you could buy. But if you don't like bourbon,
Same thing with wine.
you're gonna hate it.
The
And
most
does that mean that
expensive wine
if you don't
might
like
not be to your liking?
That's what I'm saying. So I was like, listen, Cuban cigars are great, but if you don't like the flavor of Cuban, because it is a very distinct flavor, I was like, if you don't like that, and you like more of the peppery stuff, then maybe Nicaraguans are better for you. It's like, does that mean Cubans are bad? Does that mean Nicaraguans?
Listen to this story. The first guy that sold me the Cubans, his father, Don Arturo Brigante.
I feel like there's a lot of Arturos down there.
Yeah, he had this white, slick back hair,
Silver Fox.
gold chains, a white wife beater tank top, little bit of a belly, and he would sit in his lounge chair smoking a cigar. Every time I ever saw him, I actually gave him a job. He was such a good man, and he would sit there smoking his cigar. Next to him was his humidor. It was a white styrofoam cooler, like the ones you get free at 7-Eleven.
Sure, yeah.
He used these wires, and he made a little grate, so filled it with a little bit of water, and he put his cigars on top of it, right next to his chair, his recliner.
It works.
That's
man.
it. That's it.
As long as it's
all you need.
airtight and humid.
That's it. And he's smoking all the time. And I said, Don Arturo, what's your favorite cigar? Looked at me, said Cuban. I said, I know, but what you like? He goes, whatever my son gives me is fine with me. I just need to smoke a cigar. And I said, but
I feel like I know where this is going.
what brand do you like?
I got it. Here
And
we
he
go.
looked at me and he said, ay, pinche Yankees. Yankees.
Yeah.
That's what they call Americans. And I said, what
That's
do
what
you
my
mean?
father-in-law calls me. Yankee.
Yeah.
But he's from Texas. He calls me a Yankee.
and he said, it's Cuban tobacco. That's it. There's no difference. The only difference is the size. The size will give you a different burn, a different pull. And this was in the beginning when I first started selling cigars. And he said, a Robusto is like a sawed-off shotgun. A long, thin Lancero is kind of like a cigarette. And that's all he cared about. What size do you prefer? And the rest is what tobacco do you prefer, but not a brand. Do you know where the rings and the band started? Do you know the origin?
I know where the band. I know the
Origin of the bands.
The rumor. I don't know.
Okay, it's a rumor. It's a rumor.
Is it with the Queen of Russia or something where she didn't want to get her oils on the band on the fingers?
back then in those days, men and women wore white gloves. Everybody wore white gloves, and they would bring the cigars from Cuba. That was the only place they had them. They would transport them on ships because that's the way commerce was done 250 years ago, and they would wrap them in moist pigskin. It would keep them moist and protect from the elements, the salt in the air and the water, and they would transport them back to Europe. Whatever origin they were, Germans, French, Spaniards who were smoking them, their white gloves would get stained. So then they put a white band just
to hold it.
And then somebody got creative and they said, we'll put because they were giving them as gifts,
we'll put somebody's name
we'll put
on
somebody's
it.
Name. You got to see my band collection. I have some iconic bands.
Look, we have a thing up there next to that box filled with bands. That one's filled with bands. This one's filled with bands. We got all.
I want to show you this
Cubans.
video, Scott.
Just
so this is the
old
video.
But so
Cubans.
that was the rumor is that it was like
that's still
Catherine the
rumor.
Great
No one
was.
can prove it.
Nobody can prove it, but essentially it was to hold the cigar.
And then they started branding it. So since I'm bringing them, I'm gonna put my name on there. So H. Upman, Partagas, these are all surnames. So that's where it originated.
I mean, it's a nice segue into a little plug of, hey, if you want to get your name on a cigar, you can order ours. We do custom labeling.
There you go. That's perfect.
So this is I searched. This was like 3 years ago. So this is our friend Jose.
You found it or no?
Yeah, I found it.
Oh, there you
I had
go.
to go back on my Instagram for a while.
Okay.
But this is the video. So I hooked it up to the speaker so you can hear it.
Oh, you did? Over here? Hold
Yeah,
on.
So turn it up.
Hold on.
Got a suitcase full.
Look at God.
All right, so do you want to do the test?
Oh.
Do you want to do the test?
He has
We're
no
gonna do
idea.
a test live right here. All right, stick out your hand.
Oh,
Stick out
there's
your
a
hand.
piece of paper.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
There it is.
I see it. I see
There
it.
it is, baby. Did you know about that?
No.
He had no idea.
But you know what, guys?
So he gave us this box, and he was just like, here, I got you Cubans. I know you guys like Cubans. Here, I got you some Cubans. And I was like, let's see if they're real. And he goes, shit, I hope they're real. I don't know. I got them from a reputable source.
He's like, my buddy.
He had no idea. He's like, thank God that piece of paper folded up. Otherwise,
But I don't want to burst anyone's bubble. But all the paperwork is still getting smuggled out of Cuba. They just recently arrested somebody. It's online. They arrested them with suitcases full of the original Cuban paperwork, bringing it into the U.S. because there's a lot of people buying Nicaraguan tobacco and making the boxes here and then getting the original Cuban artwork from Cuba.
Oh, like the original
Trying to-
draft.
yeah.
Yes,
They
yes.
start printing it, like making fake money apparently. Like,
Yeah,
right?
but they're still getting it from Cuba because it's probably too costly here or difficult to make,
Yeah.
and they have the molds in Cuba, or they have all of this stuff stocked up. So they're still able to get that paperwork. It's almost impossible unless you're getting them from a reputable source, which I became. I was proud that I could get almost anything, anytime for people. And then once they called me out, I could just say, you know what? I don't even care because it's the real thing. And I used to go and I'd make videos in Cuba, take a lot of pictures because I'd go back to people. I go, look, I go to Cuba.
These are
I'm
real.
bringing you real
These are
Cuban
real.
cigars.
Like, don't listen. It almost offends you. Be like, listen,
I'm there.
Yeah, but like, listen, I
Okay,
know that these
okay,
real,
but
and I'm
I'm-
offended. How dare you?
I'm going to tell you guys.
attack my character.
Yes, exactly. That's how it became.
Do you know what I had to go through to get you that box?
Oh, that's what I would say to people. I'd go, if they only knew. I had one of my customers was a legitimate billionaire. And he would give me a hard time, even about money. He'd negotiate. I go, fuck, if he only knew what it took to get him here. And I got to tell you guys a story.
You'd be like, you're a billionaire. I should be charging you 5x.
I got some of the pictures that you sent me here.
Okay.
If you have any, like, if there's any picture that you have a cool story for, I'd love to, because you sent me a lot of pictures. There's suitcases full of Cubans.
As he's looking through that, there was something you brought up about how the guy was saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter. They're all Cubans, just the different sizes." We say it a lot on the show. Is you can have the same cigar, and I always tell people, I said, "Listen, try if you like a cigar, try it."
Go back.
That's like if you like a cigar, try it in different sizes because the same cigar.
The brand could be very different.
So I said,
size.
when I say same cigar, I go the same. It's got the same filler, the same blend, the same binder, and the same wrapper. But if you have it in a Churchill, which is 7 inches by 50, and then you have it in a Lancero, which is 7 inches by 38, the same exact cigar, same blend, same everything, just a different size. One's a little bit thicker.
Big difference.
Big difference
Because of the pull.
the draw and the ratio, right?
Yes,
Said
exactly.
because the thinner one, you're going to get more of the wrapper flavor,
Right.
whereas the thicker one, you get more of the filler. I said, but it's the same thing, same cigar. I said, and they go, really? Is that how it? I go, think about this. Let's say I make a chicken parm dinner and you make a chicken parm dinner, but my chicken parm dinner is a little bit heavy, a little bit more of like I put more pasta on the plate versus the sauce. And you put a little bit of pasta on the plate, but a lot of sauce. It's the same ingredients, the
But
same
completely
sauce,
different.
and same. But mine is gonna be more pasta dominant, and not gonna. Each bite's gonna have a little bit less sauce on it, and yours is gonna be a little bit less pasta, more sauce. So your sauce is gonna dominate the dish, and my pasta.
Big difference.
Big
on the size.
difference.
Big difference.
Big difference. And they go, "Wow, really?" I said, "Yeah, big difference."
So girls, Size does matter.
Hear that first.
Okay, I got it.
So you pulled this
By the
up.
way, we're
We're
at 1 hour and 40 minutes.
All right,
so
cool.
just
We're coming up.
I got one good story to tell after this. I brought.
Oh, is that the newspaper?
Yeah, that's the newspaper.
Shit.
4,930 something cigars confiscated.
So wait,
That's
right
about
here.
you.
Cigar craze makes stogies gold mine for smugglers. Can we read it? Can we get in there? Oh,
Yeah.
it's right here. Here's the pop of it. Yeah, continue. Blah 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 blah.
And that's about you.
That's about me. Those were my cigars. I was crossing them in Nogales, Arizona. One of my friends was in the drug business, so he helped me out. He hooked me up with the guys that crossed. He was a pretty big weed dealer.
I don't want to read too much in it.
5,000 cigars they took from me. I almost threw in the towel because this business was so impossible. But do you guys remember the Trinidad cigar?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, I got a story for you. So here I am in Chicago. I'm selling cigars. I'm wheeling, dealing. I'm enjoying it. I have this great friendship with almost all of my customers. Any of my customers are watching this, I love you. And if it weren't for you, it wouldn't have been possible. And I'm sorry that for a little while I brought street cigars. And I'm going to tell this Trinidad story. And if I sold them to you, I sold them. I'm embarrassed about it. Here goes the story. So everybody's telling me, hey, Scott, so can you get Trinidad's? And I go, what's a Trinidad? Oh, man, this new cigar. The rumor is out there that Fidel had this brand that he gave to dignitaries. The Trinidad, the best of the best, the creme de la creme Trinidad. So I go back to Cuba and I'm asking, I knew everybody. Trinidad. No, Trinidad. And I tell Ernesto, the Partagas factory, the story, and he goes, Scott, it's just a bullshit rumor. Americans, they're just building up this whole thing and everybody wants them. Fidel smoked Lanceros. It didn't matter what brand they were, but eventually they opened the El Laguito factory for Cohibas. And those were the cigars that Fidel gave to people. He gave them cigars from the El Laguito factory because they were premium tobacco, and it was scrutinized because of him. They didn't want him poisoned, so it was the top of the top. And I said, but I got to get them. No, they don't exist. And I'd go back and forth, and people were starting to doubt me. Oh, then yours aren't real. They're not original. And I'm starting to get a little desperate because this is like a thorn or like a pebble in the bottom of my shoe. One day I'm walking in the one of the old neighborhoods near the Riviera Hotel in Havana, El Vedado neighborhood, and it's kind of beat up and run down. And I stayed at this beat up $20 a night hotel. You were forced to stay at a hotel at that time. They wanted their income, and so stayed there, and the staff knew me, and they didn't bother me about the cigar trafficking. I'm walking down the street with my friend, and these two street guys come up to us, black guys, and they go, hey, you want to buy some cigars? And I was not really in the mood, but I always went to take a look. I go, you know what? Fuck it, let's go with them. When we walk and we go through, in Cuba, what they did is they took buildings. So if a building was 8 apartments, they turned it into like 30. So it's now like a maze, a tunnel. It's dark, it's dingy, it's dirty, it's dangerous.
You're like, this is how it ends, right?
and we're walking and we go in this little 1-room apartment, and it's literally almost black and they're dark. Guy brings out, I'm looking, the first thing he shows me is a box of Esplendidos with a glass cover. I'm like, all right, let's get out of here, wasting my time. He's like, no, wait, you got to see. And he brings out a box like yours. Beautiful, shiny, black, and it says Trinidad on it. I couldn't believe my eyes.
I found the treasure.
I found it, and I open it up, and it's got this gold label, and it says Trinidad. I couldn't believe it. I said, how much? $2,500. I said, yeah. No, not having it. I was like,
for the one box?
For one box. And he's like, these are special, and these are the best. I said, in my head, in my own mind, I'm saying, I know. I got to have these. But I took a mental picture of everything. And I went home, and I went to my carpenter, Ramon. And I made the Trinidad boxes. But not only did I make that, I don't know if in those pictures, if there's a layout of stamps, I made the stamp, this brass stamp, not only of Trinidad. I went to a book fair in Havana, and I walked the book fair for hours because there was no internet back then. I needed Fidel Castro's signature, and I bought a book that had his signature.
No.
I made the stamp of his signature. I made
You were grinding.
I was grinding it
Yeah,
out.
man, that's sick. I like that.
My printer made the labels, and I had Papito in the factory getting me the pristine double Coronas hot off the production line. Every day, each roller is allowed to take 2 cigars home, but he would go out 3 or 4 times a day with his 2 cigars, and they never stopped him. Then he would put 5 or 10 in his waistband. His wife was doing the same. The guy next to him, they were all accumulating cigars for me, and then I'd go there and pick them up. So I said, the Trinidad brand is going to be a double Corona because that's the highest quality cigar that I had. And I would get those Mazos, and I made those boxes piano black finish. And I had the artist hand painting in gold, just like this. Trinidad and the signature. They were absolutely beautiful. And
Do you still have one of those boxes?
I don't. I wish I did.
You have a picture of one?
Don't even have a picture of them. And I was selling them to everybody. And then lo and behold, Cuba jumps on the bandwagon and they released the Trinidad brand. And it's
how long
generic.
after? How long after?
I guess about 8 months, a year.
So you were doing this for like a year, and then
I was so embarrassed. People started calling me, hey, man. I go, hey, when I was getting yours, those were for diplomats. That's when Fidel was giving them to the diplomats. Now they're generic. Everybody could get them. But I hung my head in shame. I didn't like that I did it, but they were ruining my business.
You had to do what you had to do, man.
They were causing scrutiny.
Wow, that's amazing.
It was awesome. I probably made about 100 of those boxes.
And what would you sell them for?
$2,500.
Damn.
I figured, hey, if the guy in Cuba selling them to me for $2,500,
in America, for sure, that's pennies.
It's pennies. And the guys I was selling to had money, and they wanted what they wanted. And I did the old-fashioned business trick. I made them scarce. So I'd bring 10 boxes with me, and I'd say, I only have one.
Yeah.
And I would make people want them.
That's amazing.
It was, for me.
I only have one, and I already have 2 customers that want this.
Exactly.
One offered me $3,000 for it. So like, what
And I
you
had
want $4,000?
I had players, so these guys had pull, and guys with authority, they're offended easily if they don't get what they want.
They want what they want.
They want what they want, and they want. Like I had 10 guys who wanted to be the first guy I saw,
and they all have the money to
do
show.
it.
So they're like, listen, how much is it going to cost me? I want what I want. The money's not an option. You're like,
that's basically
okay.
I want what I want, and I'm going to get it. But they were all good to me. These people were good to me. They adopted me like family. And this was the funny thing. I was coming from the streets. I was breaking all my bad habits. And this was my way to get back in the game because I wanted to open a gym so bad. And I had asked 2 drug dealers that were good friends of mine. They both said they were going to give me the money for this property. And I was obviously going to pay them back. And then they went on. They did their own thing. And I wasn't bitter. I said, I'm going to make it on my own. And the cigars landed in my lap. Again, somebody from up there said, we're going to make it hard on him so he appreciates it. I wanted to get out of the game many times because, you saw that article where they confiscated my cigars. I had 30 guys with backpacks. I still have one of the backpacks. I don't know if I sent you a picture of the green backpacks, carrying these cigars through the mountains in Arizona, and then the Border Patrol intercepted them. They saved half the load, so I probably broke even on that load, and I was going to throw in the towel.
All for Cuban cigars.
Imagine
wild.
that. It makes me
it's
laugh.
It's not drugs.
Exactly.
Cuban cigars.
The guys would say to me, they'd go, in Mexico, they have a word, güero. That means white guy. They'd go, güero, why don't you do what all the other white guys are doing? Come here and buy drugs. Why are you messing around with cigars? I'm like, no drugs. I'm not being... And I was tempted a few times. I was tempted because of the volume and the ease. I could have done it very easily. I had the people to sell it to. In Mexico, they were telling me, one guy told me, I'll give you a ton. You want a ton? I'll deliver it anywhere you want. I'm like, no, No, I'm gonna keep doing
Like,
my
no,
cigars.
yeah.
Now, do you think those ATF agents that always stop you? Do you think they were like pumped up, like, oh, we just caught this huge drug dealer, and they open up your bag and it's cigars, and like,
Well, one time we had the federales in a hotel. I was in Reynosa, the border town of McAllen, Texas. Reynosa, which is the Zetas and these terrible cartels that run that territory. And because of my boxing ties, my compadre, I baptized his son, Mario Asabache Martinez. He was a world contender. I was training and managing him at the time, and he knew all the struggle I was going through. And he had these drug dealers that were sponsoring him at that time. And he asked him, he said, hey, my compadre needs some help. Can you help me? They go, yeah, bring him here. We'll set him up. So I got set up there where they would transport my merchandise to the other side. And on one of the trips, we couldn't find our courier, the guy who was our mule that had the whole team of people. So we went out, we found another guy that was sketchy. And you know what? I didn't like it at all. So I went hunting for my guy, found him. He came, we loaded the suitcases up into the truck. And that night, the hotel room, the door got kicked in, and the Mexican federales, there were probably 30 of them. They came in because nobody could believe that anybody was smuggling cigars.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, you got so many cigars. It would look like you're a huge drug lord going from Mexico to the United States.
Nobody believed it. They would open
stogies.
boxes, they'd rip it open, they'd go, no, where's the drugs? And I go, it's fucking cigars. I promise, it's cigars.
That's crazy.
And they that day, the federales came, and the boss, he said to me, there's no way I'm leaving here without money. I was out having a party. I was out there having fun. And I came here for this. I'm not leaving without anything. I ended up giving him $400, and he gave me his phone number. He said, you need anything next time? He goes, stay away from these scumbags. Next time you need anything, you just call me when you get here.
Damn. Stogies, man.
Yeah, all of that for
Not
cigars.
cocaine.
All of that for stogies.
Cigaros.
But let me just, to set the record straight, I stayed on the straight and narrow. I never went back to the other stuff. I built a gym. I had a doctor in Mexico that helped me. He was a partner and helped me build these businesses, and I ended up building my gym, and then it was a Gold's Gym. I became the master franchise for Gold's Gym, so I franchised all the gyms in the country. I ended up, the end of my period of franchising, I had 34 franchises, sub-franchises that I had sold and opened. I had 6 of my own gyms. Then I started a fitness equipment company, and I started my own brand and line of fitness equipment. So I there's redemption at the end of it.
Yeah. And you still have these businesses today?
I do.
Wow.
So it all comes around to you ultimately got your goal and then some.
And then
of a
some.
gym.
But I got the gym and managing
Got
the fighters.
30 of them.
Yeah. Well, and I worked really, really hard. Not only did I get the gym, I got 8 children, so I have 8 kids.
Wow. God bless you.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Man, God really did put you on the path to make you appreciate a lot of other things.
You know
right?
what? I say all the time that some, if it's not, if it wasn't God's hand, Jesus, an angel, a spirit, somebody had their hand, some force greater than our own, had a hand on my shoulder and made me, even the times I got in trouble, I believe that was to slow me down and put me in another path, my destiny. And now my destiny is telling my stories, writing my books, and I'm going to have fun with this. I'm going to start smoking cigars again, too.
Well, when you come back in the new year with the book, we'll talk about the book, and we'll smoke some cigars over it.
That's I almost brought you guys some Cubans when I was going through the airport.
Give us some of those Trinidad's.
So listen, everybody. Scott, thank you so much for
You're
coming
welcome.
towards the end of here, almost 2 hours. And this was great for hearing the confessions of a Cuban cigar smuggler. So your book called Smoke, Confessions of a Cuban Cigar Smuggler will be out when?
January 21st is the release date, and you can follow me on social media, Scott Anthony OG. There's some really good videos. I did a great documentary this summer in Chicago about Chicago street gangs. Follow me. I promise you won't be bored.
Now, Scott has definitely have some interest. We didn't even peel back the surface.
Oh, I
the
got.
surface.
I can keep going for.
We can
for
probably
days.
make
Well, no,
4,
we'll
5,
have-
6 episodes.
Well,
What
what we're
stories
gonna do is
have.
we're gonna have you back on, and we're gonna
That would be
when
an
this is
honor.
finally
Yeah.
released. We'll do
Most definitely.
we'll do a giveaway on the show. We'll give away a
Awesome.
signed copy of your book to one of our listeners, and then we'll light up a stogie. Then it'll be your first time in 20+ years.
That is awesome.
If you don't have one between now and then.
Yeah.
But listen, Scott, thank you so much
Thank
for coming
you.
on
Thank
the
you for
show.
having me.
It was a pleasure listening to all the stories. You got 1,000,001 of them, and there's probably only just barely scratched the surface
Yeah,
of them.
definitely.
But this is the time of the show where we like to give you the red carpet to let the viewers, let the listeners know where they can find you. Like we said, when the book's coming out, if there's any other books that are coming out.
There's 3 more books after that. So
let them know, and we'll
I
let
have
it there.
this book being released first, and even the publishing company asked me, Scott, why did you write this book first? I wasn't going to write another book. I did hang my head in shame. When you do a lot of bad stuff, you should repent and you should be embarrassed. And I was embarrassed for many years, but I built my life afterwards with hard work. And then once this was coming close to an end, my good friend John Romano said to me, Scott, your life is a Netflix series. You've got to write it. And I was hoping he would do it for me because he's a writer, but he never offered. He doesn't have enough time. And he kept saying, he called me one day, he said, Scott, I just saw Sons of Anarchy. Man, your life is even better than that. You got to do it. So maybe it'll happen. I got 3 more books coming. After that, there's 3 different periods of my life. It should be awesome.
Wow.
Well, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And when that Netflix series comes out,
We'll see.
we'll have you on again, and we'll talk about that. But listen, again, thank you, Scott, for joining us. Everybody, listen, if you like this episode, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Go follow Scott on Instagram. When his book comes out, get yourself a copy. One of you lucky listeners or watchers is going to receive a signed one as well when we have that second episode. But we love you guys. We're glad that you were here. You stuck for 2 hours with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. The trip was awesome. Everything has been awesome so far. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, send us off, Eric.
Until next time, my friend, as we like to say on the podcast, cheers, chin chin, and salute. We'll see you guys in the
Ching
next one.
ching.
All right.
That's it.